Yeah! Yeah!
Hey guys!
Hey guys, welcome back to the program. Oh yeah, baby.
Oh yeah, baby.
So guys, you know, when something comes up on my YouTube, I don't ask too many questions. I'm just like, yep, YouTube says watch this, so I'll watch this. And this is from 2020. Okay, and I didn't watch this when it came out, but it's this guy Joseph Rogan. He's our public intellectual in the United States. And this is from the era when he was doing his show inside of a graphics card or something. But before we get into the main clip, I thought this would be a great way to celebrate the new Alex Jones documentary that's coming out. Joe Rogan, this dingleberry. I just kind of started watching this and I was like, okay, maybe Alex Jones will say something funny. I was shocked to discover what Joe Rogan was saying in this clip.
Listen, let me just, before we go any further, I fucking love Sacha Baron Cohen.
He's a comic genius.
I think he's brilliant. I think, generally speaking, Chinese people look Chinese.
Okay, you've already said that before. We get it.
It's amazing. But his interpretation of what happened in the room with Rudy Giuliani, it's not accurate, in my opinion.
Well, listen, I mean, in Who is America?
Like, see, he's tapping her while she's touching him and removing his mic. He does this little tap on her waist, but it's not creepy. It's like an old man, like a little tap, tap, tap.
Right.
What's that? Now, Joe, you know, we've heard some of your catchphrases. Chinese people look Chinese. You know, generally speaking, Chinese people look Chinese. All these classic phrases. One Joeism I was not expecting was, yeah, no, Rudy Giuliani wasn't doing anything weird in that video. In that video where he gets got by Sacha Baron Cohen. If you remember that video. I mean, Joe Rogan is just, what is wrong with you exactly? Like, what's the question, where there's some question would be like, does he just have dementia? That would be the only, that would actually be the only out for Giuliani, which, you know, in a decade or two is going to be, I'm going to use that for everything. Sir, you can't just walk out with all that IKEA stuff. Well, I have dementia. I didn't know. Do you want me to put it back or? Okay, guys. Well, you know it's that time of the week where we
make pee-pee.
And remember, pee is stored in the
left nut.
Okay. All right. Come on. That's right. We make pee-pee on internet guy, internet lunatic, troubled internet lunatic, Ben Chicano. He's a guy. He gets a lot of views. He's got one of the top podcasts, you know, in the world. Ooh, geez, that doesn't sound too good, you know.
Oh my God, dude.
And the left seems to think that since the overruling of Roe versus Wade and Dobbs, that the winds of change are with them. They seem to think that the American people have sided with them on the question of the morality of abortion, and they are not reading the room correctly.
So I'm sort of a little bit confused. You know, because this guy's really good friends with Jordy Biederman, and, you know, that guy's really about taking responsibility for your crap. You get something wrong, you be a man, and you own up to it. Still haven't heard the apology from him or the, you know, hey, I made a mistake on that, him calling that story from last week about the young girl who had to get an abortion. Fake. He was calling that fake. So weird.
Truth doesn't matter, which is why you had Joe Biden repeating from the rostrum of the White House a story about a 10-year-old who needed an abortion in Ohio, and the 10-year-old apparently does not exist.
Still no. Where could I find an apology or a correction on that? Nowhere. Nowhere. Okay.
They seem to think that the American people have sided with them on the question of the morality of abortion, and they are not reading the room correctly. Most Americans have a sort of wishy-washy, in-the-middle opinion on abortion. This seems to be what all the polling shows. Americans want heavy restrictions in the last trimester. They want some restrictions in the second trimester. They don't want nearly as many restrictions in the first trimester. That seems to be what the polling shows.
Okay.
None of that suggests that women have a right to choose from point of birth all the way backwards.
This is a little bit of a baffling section because he's kind of right on that. People are not wishy-washy about whether or not abortion should be legal. That's very clear. But what we know is that, you know, 90%, over 90% of abortions happen within 12 weeks. So I would ask Ben Shapiro, so you're doing this whole thing about the polling and that people don't like the idea of a woman having an abortion, you know, when it looks like a baby. They don't want that. Okay, well, most abortions happen very, very early. Let's put that into federal law, right?
Well, my viewers won't like that. My viewers won't like that, and then I won't get that.
So it's kind of baffling. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing a segment where you're stating the obvious, which is that most people disagree with your weirdo, lunatic, freak, fundamentalist, lunatic view of the world?
Because it's about loving yourself at the expense of an actual other human being.
Huh?
Earlier, producer Bradford was asking me, do these people
Producer Bradford was asking you something?
Earlier, producer Bradford was asking me, do these people even hear themselves? And the answer is they do, but they think that no one else hears them other than, like, they think that in their bubble, they believe they are the greatest people who have ever lived. And therefore, everyone else must hear them that way because all they've gotten for years is validation by other people who agree with them about this perverse cultish view.
Yeah, I totally agree with Benny Shapino on here. I totally agree.
I totally agree with Benny. I totally agree with Ben on this one.
I totally agree with Ben. You know, that's sort of crazy when people are like in their bubble and they're like, reality doesn't match up with the crap that they're saying and thinking. And it's especially bad when the, you know, decrepit lunacy that's inside of their cabeza gets out into the real world and becomes like policy and all that stuff. We have the 10-year-old case where a 10-year-old had to travel from Ohio to Indiana because the legal situation is unsure. And again, still waiting for the apology for that one, but that's fine. Women suffering from life-threatening ectopic pregnancies are no longer getting the immediate care they require. This is from the Washington Post. A woman with a life-threatening ectopic pregnancy sought emergency care at a University of Michigan hospital after a doctor in her home state worried that the presence of a fetal heartbeat meant treating her might run afoul of new restrictions on abortion. At one Kansas City hospital, administrators temporarily required pharmacist approval before dispensing medication to stop postpartum hemorrhages because they can also be used for abortions. And in Wisconsin, a woman bled for more than 10 days from an incomplete miscarriage. Senate Republicans have blocked a bill that would protect pregnant people's right to travel to states where abortion is legal to have the procedure.
I thought y'all believed in states' rights, though.
So really, and this is not an exaggeration, they've created a public health disaster with their ideas. It sounds like this. And of course, this is not to mention that states are getting overwhelmed with people coming from other states, which is a total disaster. It's a total...
But guys, we're being very negative here, okay?
Giving these people a little bit of a hard time. And let's be fair, they're not doing all bad, okay? The other day, and I have to give credit where credit's due, the other day, a drag queen tried to read my kid a book at the library, and they were like, nope, you can't do that. So, you know, we got to weigh these things out. You know, public health disaster. No drag queen in the library. You know, this kind of, you know what I mean? You know, when I heard about this, I showed up, I rolled up on that library with my flamethrower.
I was like, step back from that Diary of a Wimpy Kid book right now.
Those are my kids. This is what I say to drag queens who try to read my kids' stories. I say, those are my kids. I want them to know my values, which are that life is not about having fun. It is about being very upset watching TV alone and panicking about nothing while the world is burning down around you. That is what I teach my kids. Thank you. Stay away from them. You know, guys, and this is a class issue. Okay, I read Jacobin magazine, and I have to say that this is a class issue. This is a class issue, okay? Because people in rural Alabama and Kentucky, you know, Louisiana, this is a huge issue, okay? These drag queens in libraries is a huge issue. Because if there's one thing we know about rural, if there's one thing we know about rural Kentucky and rural Alabama and all these places, rural Florida, they love libraries. Okay, and it's very interesting too because now, in addition to this minority rule, monarchy rule decision on health, in addition to that, we have a housing crisis now too. So to that, I say. Let's give the land back to the Native Americans. We gave it a shot. And, you know, Wayne Gretzky had a great quote, which is, you miss 100% of the shots all the time because the hockey rink is filled with lunatics. the hockey rink and the spectators, the arena or whatever where the hockey game is happening, there are a lot of too many lunatics there too. So the hockey game has to stop. Put down the stick. Put down the stick and just sort of lay down on the ice and roll around on the ice. That's what Wayne Gretzky said.
When they're really confronted with these questions, Democrats then have to go to their fallback argument, which is that if you dare question why a woman would have an abortion, it's because you have a low opinion of women. Women actually do have anguish. Well, you can't have it both ways. Either it's worth celebrating and it's an act of self-love, or it's something you ought to be anguished over, in which case there should be restrictions on it.
What?
This is how you end up with the fallback sort of position of Georgia State Representative Renita Shannon. Here she is trying to explain that if you believe that some women are pretty flippant about the lives of the unborn children within them, then that is because you have a low opinion of pregnant women, which again is a mutually exclusive argument with the idea you ought to celebrate abortion.
Starting with Ms. Lopez, I assume you agree with infanticide, the killing of a child, a perfectly healthy child at birth.
I don't accept the basis of that question, but I do believe abortion is health care.
I'm talking about, do you agree? I know, I get.
I know, but I got my little prepared question here. Can you please answer my stupid question? Can you please answer my stupid question?
Guys, I'm just kidding. I love the South. I love the South. It's my favorite place. Go down there, you get bugs in your face all the time. I love the way Ben Shapiro sets that guy up, too. He's like,
the argument, the default argument being used here is like, he's doing his debate club.
Then he cuts to this guy who's like,
are you gonna have a baby?
Guys, again, I love the South. I just love doing that voice as well, okay? If you were a patron, I'm just saying, if you were a Patreon member, that's all I'm saying. I'm doing a little report on a book called Injustices, which is about a bunch of Supreme Court decisions. And what's crazy about this overturning Roe v. Wade, and as they call it, sending Roe v. Wade back to the states. But during Reconstruction, there was a Supreme Court decision that really eased back equal protection, for Black Americans. It just said, hey, we're going to let the states deal with that. We're going to send that back to the states. Of course, mayhem ensued. I mean, all these southern states went right to work, totally disenfranchising and terrorizing Black people. It's the same kind of... And again, we just have, not most people in the United States, but we do have a large population, a minority, but a large population of... But I do think that that's eventually going to happen. That's my guess, that eventually there's going to be a federal law that makes abortion a right across the entire country. I do think that's the most likely outcome. That's just me.
I'm at a loss for words for what happened today.
You're not, though. You're talking.
We all knew it was going to happen, but actually seeing it happen just feels extremely unreal. ACOG has stated that abortion access is essential for comprehensive evidence-based health care. President of ACOG stated today that today's decision is a direct blow to bodily autonomy, reproductive health, patient safety, and health equity in the United States.
Aren't these just buzzwords that dumb people use to sound important?
That's a political statement, because all of our scientific institutions have been taken over by political activists.
That was pretty funny. I did dump my pants with laughter when they played that Simpsons clip. I was like... I was going... I always wonder when I watch these clips, I'm like, do these people who watch this know... Do they not know that there's other content out there? Did Ben Shapiro just come up first on their crap, and they're just, I guess I watch this now.
I guess this goes here and here now.
I love Ben Shapiro's buzzwords from this girl, this nurse or whatever she is, who's doing a car cam video. I love his buzzword count. Experts is a buzzword. Essential. Essential is a buzzword. Healthcare is a buzzword. Bodily autonomy is a buzzword. I love this, man. I love this. Just a guy who went to Harvard, just totally saying it, coming on a camera every day and looking his audience in the eye and saying, "You're morons.
You're morons. You're morons, and I can trick you easily because you don't have much education like I do."
How do you argue against the idea the right is on the side of violence? When you have Republicans holding rifles in commercials claiming they want to hunt rhinos in the January 6th debacle, could you argue the right is insisting on violence as much as the left is? Or could you argue the left is more violent through their rhetoric? My friend seems to think that the side holding rifles in commercials is more clearly promoting death and violence. Well, it depends on what you mean by the side. So I thought that Eric Greitens' commercial is ridiculous and terrible. What? I thought that the January 6th storming of the Capitol was ridiculous and terrible.
Uber cars.
I think that most people think that acts of violence against law enforcement are ridiculous and terrible. The entire Democratic Party infrastructure supported actual rioting in the middle of 2020. Kamala Harris sought to bail out actual rioters. So if you're talking about the vast increase in crime in America, you'd probably have to look to the areas where the crime is happening. That is happening in Democratic governed areas where they are very harsh on police and soft on crime. So that it seems like the proof is in the pudding. How do you argue against the idea the right is on the side of violence?
The proof is in the pudding. And I got some chocolate pudding in my pants.
Ben, you can't say that.
Oh, I didn't know we were recording.
Like, honestly, I'm not even trying to lie. My version of my idea of Ben Shapiro is so much funner than the real Ben Shapiro. My version, he poops his pants for no reason, just for fun.
You know, he's like, shut up, moron.
He's so much better in my world. But Ben Shapiro here seems to be just pulling some stuff out of his ass, sort of.
He's like, all the crime is happening in the Democratic areas.
And of course, there's crime all over the place. Of course. It's America. We're doing this. And we're doing this. Not only is crime highest in like solid red states like Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Alabama, but there was a big story in the Wall Street Journal just like a couple weeks ago. Rural America reels from violent crime. People lost their ever-loving minds. I like that. People are doing this. And this is sort of Ben Shapiro's whole purpose in life, is to confuse what's really going on here. Is, yeah, when times are hard for a lot of people, which even the Wall Street Journal talks about here during a pandemic and so on, when times are harder for people, they do crazy stuff. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out. And then I love that he's like,
it's these Democrat areas that are tough on police and soft on crime.
It's almost like he's like
tough on police, tough on crime.
Like he's just sleep talking or something, because nothing from actually looking into this issue would make you say that. The only reason you would say that.
The word empathy is a little over 100 years old, originally a word used within music. It only translated into what we know of it today after World War II. I hear a lot of talk in the church of preaching about empathy, but it's only once in the Bible used in the NIV translation that's highly debatable. Conversely, there's virtues like compassion and sympathy. Would you agree the word isn't something grounded in historical Orthodox Judeo-Christian values? Well, yes. I mean, the idea of empathy as opposed to sympathy is a widely disputed problem. And there are a lot of philosophers who suggest that empathy is actually a quite bad thing for society, because when you identify with the other person as opposed to feeling sympathy for the other person, what you end up doing is making that person's interests predominant. And that's a problem when you're creating social policy and when you're creating, for example, moral rules. So feeling sympathy for someone, which is the quality of mercy, is not necessarily the same as feeling empathy for them, which is the idea of I am now in your place. And because I am therefore in your place, all the rules should be changed with regard to me.
So what he said there is a little incoherent. But if you slow it down, if you listen a few times, it's incoherent. But I think if we're going to make sense out of it and sort of, strengthen his argument the best we can, what he's saying is, I'm a sociopath. I'm a sociopath.
He's like, empathy, the Judeo-Christian tradition doesn't say anything about empathy. Empathy can kiss my ass. People argue about it.
We have the internet, so it's very easy to look up, at least what the Bible says about empathy. So that's okay. That one's out. Yeah, normal people feel empathy all the time and should. You should feel some connection to your fellow humans and the things that they're dealing with, both positive and negative. But Ben Shapiro's like, no! Well, there we go, guys. Just giving our favorite goon, our favorite ding-dong, a hard time.
You can kiss my ass, frankly.
People look at him and they say,
what a pervert.
And also a
pendejo.
But good job on advertising your way or whatever the crap to having one of the most popular podcasts in the country. You're a true turd, but luckily most people don't agree with your crap, and that's a good thing. So, guys, It's Wednesday, and what do we say to Wednesday? We say, that's right, we go number 2, doo-doo and caca, all over it.
Take a doo-doo pie.
Okay, love you guys. Hope you're having a good week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Hey guys, you're only getting a fraction of the weekly shows. If you want a new motherfucking episode every day, subscribe on Patreon for as little as 2 bones. You get the patron-only Tuesday and Thursday shows, the Book-a-Blega show where we look at important books, and the goddamn weekly behind-the-scenes show. And for only 25 bones, you could become a producer and get your name up here. Look at these people. These people make this show possible. If it wasn't for them, nothing. We don't have a show. We got nothing, and it's garbage. And we have to just leave. We have to just basically walk away, and we don't even really know where we're walking. That's the truly troubling part about all this. But please, become a patron today. For as little as 2 bones, or 5 bones is another level, or 10, or you go the full 25 and you get up here. Big special thanks to these people. Love you guys. Love you guys so much.